Today, we're diving into a really powerful text called the 19th Word. It's one of those works that grapples with the biggest questions you can ask, Why are we here? What's this all for? What is the universe really about? So yeah, let's jump right in.
Right off the bat, we start with this incredible line. Think about what it's saying. It's not just, I'm using words to praise him. It's that he is so profound, he actually elevates the very words used to describe him. This sets the stage perfectly, framing the central figure not just as a historical person, but as a source of meaning itself.
So, how does the argument begin? Well, it starts by laying out a really clear framework. The whole idea is that there are three universal things, three great proofs that help us see and understand our Creator.
And the text is super specific here. It's not two, not four, it's exactly three. And these aren't just presented as interesting ideas, they're framed as fundamental, rock-solid proofs for making sense of our place in the cosmos.
And here they are. First, you have the universe itself, which is described as a vast, open book. Second, the Seal of the Prophets, which is a title for the Prophet Muhammad. And third, the Qur'an. Now, all three are presented as absolutely crucial, but for this explainer, we're going to zoom in on what the text has to say about that second proof.
Just listen to the imagery here. He's not seen as some isolated figure who just appeared out of nowhere. No, he's the articulate proof. He's the one who gives voice to that silent book of the universe. And that metaphor of a luminous tree, wow. It positions him as the culmination of everything that came before, with his roots deeply connected to all the prophets throughout history.
Okay, so if he is the proof, the great sign, then what's the problem he's here to solve? The text frames our entire existence as a kind of giant, perplexing riddle, a puzzle that every single one of us has to face.
And these are the three awesome and difficult questions that make up that riddle. These are the big ones, right? Where did I come from? What on earth am I doing here? And where am I going? The central argument is that the prophet's message provides the only truly convincing and satisfying answer to all three.
Because without that guidance, the picture it paints is, it's incredibly bleak. The world becomes a place of general mourning, just full of sadness. Everyone and everything feels disconnected, like we're all just hostile strangers to each other. It's a vision of a universe that's meaningless, terrifying, and ultimately very lonely.
But right after painting that dark, depressing picture, the text introduces the solution, and it's described as a light, a transformative message that comes in and completely changes the entire view.
And this slide just illustrates that change so perfectly. Look at the side-by-side. That place of general mourning becomes a place where praises are recited in joy. Hostile strangers become friends and brothers. Even inanimate objects, once seen as ghastly corpses, are revealed to be familiar officials doing their jobs. The key takeaway here is that the physical world doesn't change, but the meaning we see in it is completely flipped on its head. It's a shift from chaos to purpose. And this transformation isn't just about the outside world. It changes how we see ourselves. Through this light, the things we might see as our biggest flaws, our weakness, our poverty, our neediness, they get reframed as our greatest strengths. Our weakness makes us turn to prayer, which makes us like a petted monarch who just has to ask for what they need. It's a total paradigm shift.
So this new perspective is incredible, but let's be real, that's a huge claim. Why should anyone trust this message, or the messenger who brought it? Well, the next part of the text basically builds the case, laying out layer after layer of evidence for his authenticity.
So the case for his truthfulness is built on all these different pillars. You've got signs in previous scriptures like the Torah and the Bible. You have miracles like the famous splitting of the moon. But then you also have his personal character, which was seen as perfect, and his absolute, unwavering confidence in his mission. And maybe the most powerful proof of all, the unbelievable impact he had on society. And this is a really important distinction the text makes. This change wasn't about military conquest or force. He didn't just rule over people's bodies. He became the beloved of hearts and the teacher of minds. He fundamentally reshaped the inner world of an entire civilization, turning what the text calls savage customs into the finest virtues.
And this leads to this amazing challenge. It's basically saying, okay, go ahead, take 100 of the smartest people you can find, the greatest philosophers. Send them back to that exact time and place. Let them work for 100 years. Could they even do 1/100th of what he did in just 1 year? The argument is that the sheer scale and speed of the transformation points to something beyond just human ability.
And that very challenge, that idea that his impact was almost superhuman, leads us right to what the text presents as the ultimate proof. It's the capstone of the whole argument, the Quran itself, which is seen as the supreme, undeniable miracle.
So what is the Qur'an according to this argument? First, it's called the translator of the universe. So imagine all of creation, the sun, the stars, the trees, as this huge, silent book full of science. The Qur'an is the text that comes along and tells you what it all means.
Next, it's the key that unlocks the meaning hidden in the events of our lives and in history. It gives you a way to understand the purpose behind all the things that happen, to see the meaning that's just beneath the surface of everyday experience. And finally, it's described as a map, not just a guide for how to live a good life here and now, but a detailed map for the journey that comes after this life, explaining what to expect in the hereafter and how to prepare for it. Now, a common critique you hear about the Qur'an is that it's repetitive. But the text flips this idea on its head, arguing that the repetition is actually a sign of its eloquence. For example, when it's a book of prayer, repetition strengthens your connection. When it's giving commands, repetition confirms their importance. It's not a flaw, it's a feature that helps establish these core truths in our hearts and minds.
This also helps explain why the Qur'an's language isn't always scientifically technical. Look at this comparison. It calls the sun a revolving lamp to help you see the Creator's mercy and wisdom. Philosophy or science might describe it as a vast burning liquid mass, which is true, but it inspires more dread than anything else. The point is, the Qur'an's purpose isn't to be a science textbook, it's to use nature to point us towards the one who made it.
And all of this leaves us with one final provocative question that really ties the whole argument of the 19th word together. If you accept the premise that the universe isn't just random chaos, but is actually a book filled with incredible meaning, well, what kind of person would it take to read that book and explain its message to the rest of us? It's a powerful thought to end on.